Osun State goes to the polls this Saturday, and with just a few days to the election, the big question is, what should voters be looking at before they make their choice?
Governor Ademola Adeleke is seeking a second term, and interestingly, his challengers have put forward their own plans for infrastructure, security, jobs, and the economy.
So today, we're looking beyond the campaign noise. We're looking at Adeleke's record, his opponent's promises, and whether some of these promises can actually be delivered.
Despite the ongoing drama around the power sector, with the federal government planning to phase out electricity subsidies from 2027, there's been promises of 24-hour electricity supply by one of the governor's gubernatorial aspirants. How feasible would this be, really? Let's find out, shall we? My name is Andrew Isaiah Priye.
And I am Kelvin Raphael. This is the briefing room.
Stay with us. This Saturday, over 2.3 million registered voters across 30 local government areas of Osun State are going to the polls to determine who their governor would be for the next term. Now, over the history of Osun State, Governor Ademola Adeleke might be, interestingly, the first governor to have a second term. Would this happen, or would history not be in record if he's unseated by his challengers? He's made a couple promises, and then he has said record speaks for themselves because he has delivered on quite a number of things. But his challengers, right, Oyebamiji is of another opinion entirely. He's saying that the records show that the governor of Osun State has not really performed as much as he has claimed to. And then we have Najeem Salaam coming with
ambitious promises,
extremely interesting promises, right? We are asking one simple question: what is the plan, right? Where are the documents? How feasible are these things that we're talking about? Is this another manifesto, or is Osun State about to witness something that will be one for the books?
So, this is how I look at these three candidates. Ademola Adeleke is the one who's saying, judge me by what I have done in the past, judge me by my records in the first term. And then we have Bola Oyebamiji, who is saying Osun needs more economically focused and technically driven economy. And then we have Najeem Salaam, who is presenting himself as the great alternative with the most ambitious promises, including creating jobs for about 20,000 youths, and that is very, very interesting.
Within the first 100 days.
Yeah, within the first 100 days, and he's also promising 24 hours power supply. And given the current issue around the power supply, given the loans that we're repaying, all the debt, and given the fact that the federal government is looking to phase out electricity subsidy, and we have a gubernatorial candidate saying that he's going to provide 24 hours electricity. Now, the question is, all these big promises, how do they intend to achieve it? Because it's appearing like a Monday morning meeting at the office where you ask the teams, what are your plans for the week? And they tell you, oh, we have marketing strategies, new marketing strategies, and they're unable to tell you what exactly these marketing strategies are. We just have big grammars, no practical steps, no actionable steps.
I think we're falling for the scam of good words, great talking points, but zero actionable points, right? It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting because when you look at everything that is playing out, you find out that Governor Ademola Adeleke, right, he came into power as PDP's candidate, right? And now he's contesting for a second term. He really wants to be there because he believes that he has done the work, right? He said that in his tenure, they developed 350 kilometers of road.
I have concerns regarding that, actually.
Exactly. So he said that areas of pensions and workers' wages have been paid. He said he implemented
about
the 75
100 billion.
Yes, so he said he implemented the 75,000 naira minimum wage for workers, right? So all of these things he has said. He also said that there's been a total revamp of the healthcare system, right? That was strongly contested by Oyebamiji, right, during the town hall meeting that he had on Arise, right? Interestingly, right, now that he's seeking to be re-elected, he has left the umbrella, that once shielded him. I mean PDP, right? He left the umbrella. He tossed the umbrella aside, and he has gone to the Accord Party as their representative. And we don't really see any representative from PDP in this election, which is very, very interesting, right? Because usually you would find that they would have wanted to be very, very well represented in this election. But that is not what I find to be the most interesting thing about this. What I find to be very interesting in all of this is that one, the incumbent governor has said, my records speak for me, right? And then another challenger, although we know that there are 14 of them that are contesting for the seat of the governor and the forthcoming elections this Saturday, we know that this is actually a teary horse race. It is strongly between the incumbent governor and also between
Bola
Oyebamiji, APC's Bola Oyebamiji, and between Najeem Salaam,
yes.
right? We know that these three persons are the key figures that will be contending, closely, depending on who the favorites will be. Now, I know that it's between these three, but let us look at what they've said. The governor has said that he would fulfill, on his already given mandate, continue from where he stopped because the records are speaking. And then he came out to say, you know what, they are attacking me because I'm dancing. I'm the dancing governor. I have nothing against you dancing. It's the lifestyle. You're a fun governor. I think it is cool once in a while. We should have fun sides.
I actually think that shouldn't even be a topic of discussion.
Actually, right?
Yeah.
If we're being honest. But then again, for a state like Osun, right, a state like Osun, to have about 2.3 million voters coming out, it shows that they are very particular about who they want to be in in governance, right? They are very particular about who they want to occupy that seat, and it's looking good because if we take the same energy to the 2027 polls for the presidency, right, it means that we know who we want to be in power and we can put whoever we want to be in power there. So that is what I find interesting about that. And another thing I also think I find interesting is the fact that, he has come out to say, just like Peter Obi said, verify, go and check. The records speak for me that I've been a good governor. And then the opposition, they're coming to say, yes, you did not do this, you did not do that. Beyond just words now, for this should be one of the guiding principles. Beyond just words, beyond just beautiful manifestos. What are the blueprints? If you have said that he has not done this, bring facts. We do not want to hear opinions. Bring the facts. Bring the records from the ministry, from the state's ministries and parastatals. Bring the facts. Submit the records, right? And for the very, very ambitious claims. 20,000 jobs in the first
jobs
100
for
days.
20,000 youths.
Yes, it's the same thing, 20,000 jobs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
So 20,000 jobs within the first 100 days. We need to be very logical in our thinking. Is it that he has identified that there's a 20,000 gap in job openings or vacancies that the present government have been unable to attend to? Because currently
So it appears. So if he says that he's going to create 20,000 jobs, it means he sees a loop which he's trying to fill.
No, we're saying this because he said, do the statistics show that there's indeed a 20,000 job gap? And we already know that Governor Ademola Adeleke already said that there has been financial strain on the purse of the government to disburse, funds to pay up salaries, to pay up wages, and said he paid 2/3 of what has been owed in arrears, right? His claims, anyways. Now, if there's a strain, what would now be the capacity of the incoming governor, if he comes in to offset the gap that will now come in to pay the new 20,000 persons that you're going to employ? What structure do you have to ensure that those jobs are real, right? Are they going to be? We also need to now ask questions like: are they going to be jobs that are they going to be contract jobs? Aha, that's another thing. Are they jobs that have civil rights and then they are pensioned? Are they jobs for the long term? Is there an infrastructure to pay these persons when they come in? What gaps are they going to be filling if they are going to be employed? You see, all of these questions we need to ask. We cannot just take what you have said, hook, line, and sinker, and swallow it and say, oh, it looks good, 20,000 jobs, and then we're going to applaud. No. I think we have woken up to the point where we need to start asking intelligent questions. Now you've come to say, okay, for electricity, I'm going to ensure that there's 24-hour power supply, stating the Electricity Act that was recently amended as of 2023 that grants states the license, quote and unquote, to generate power. But the truth is, power has not been given arbitrarily to the states to generate power. In fact, it has to be in tandem with specific investors. It has to be in tandem with specific key players, the GENCOs. It has to be
discos.
Exactly. It has to be in tandem. Now, none of these entities have been named.
Yeah, and already
so
there are
all
lots of issues.
It's looking like it's audio. It's looking, because already we're saying that debts have been compiling. Debts have been, we've been amassing a lot of debts, and every stakeholder is coming to say, you're owing me this, you're owing me that, and you're coming to say, I would provide
24 hours power supply.
When you're not the Abia State governor.
So the question is, how many houses or how many buildings in Osun State have been metered? How many are unmetered,
exactly.
Right? And then another thing is, considering the fact that the federal government is looking to phase out electricity subsidy, how do you intend to finance the power supply? Right? How much are people going to be paying per kilowatt or per megawatt? And then again,
continue.
Yeah, and then we already have issues with the discos. With discos coming people, how do you intend to resolve that issue? Or will the masses have to pay so much more for what they're going to be using? Because already they're doing that. They're paying so much more for the power they're using.
Exactly what we're saying.
How exactly, what measures do you want to take? Are you going to create your own generation companies or your own distribution companies? How do you want to go about it? So we do not want large promises and big grammars. We want practical, actionable steps. And now going back to Governor Adeleke's record, he did mention that he has constructed about 350-kilometer road, including 9 federal road. And the question is, were these roads newly constructed, like all the roads, were they newly constructed? How many were newly constructed? How many were rehabilitated? Because what we've actually seen over the years is that when they rehabilitate roads, they go ahead and say, we constructed the road.
We cut the ribbon. Yay! Yeah. This is what
we've done a new road. But then it's rehabilitation and it costs less.
Just as we've seen that, even in Lagos State, right? Kudos to Governor Sanwo-Olu. Anyways, we're not going to belittle his efforts, but we've seen that the recently constructed road, right, the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway that has been newly rehabilitated, let's put that way, that's been really renovated or whatever, right? We're already seeing cracks on those roads, right? I don't know what contractor was used, right? And we can already see that there are cracks on the roads, right? So it's just to throw back to when you say that I have done certain things, it is good to call figures. It is good to, toot your horn and say, I'm capable of doing this, and then this is what I've done, right, to sum it up and, call excellent figures. However, right, what I believe the indigents, the residents of Osun State, what they need to do collectively, put sentiment aside. If Governor Adeleke is the one you believe, based off of his record, because I'm not living there, you're living there, you can check for a fact if all of the things that he has said, they are true, because APC's Bola Oyebamiji has contended the fact that he said that they renovated a lot of primary healthcare centers.
Over 200 primary healthcare
centers. And so
yes, and I also have concerns regarding that.
They are largely dilapidated and the facts are not real. So
Yeah.
I don't really care for Osun State repeating, making history by having Governor Adeleke as the first governor to come on for a second time. I don't really care for that, but if that is what it takes, it doesn't really matter in the face of reality.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. What matters is his ability to deliver.
Exactly.
Promises. And speaking of the over 200 primary healthcare centers that has been renovated, the truth is, renovating those healthcare centers is not as the same as providing functional healthcare centers.
Are they working?
So the question is, are they functioning? Are they fully staffed? Are the staff
people
well
benefited?
paid?
Exactly. Have they saved lives? Have people benefited from the head? So it's a lot to say.
So it's not enough to say.
Real questions, actually.
We need to look deeper. We need to look into these things.
And it is the onus again is on the indigents, the residents of Osun State, because it is on Saturday. And I know there's not a lot of time to start, verifying all of these claims, but you can do due diligence to say we're not going to be sentimental about this election, and we really, really want what is best for the state. If the governor, the incumbent governor, is the person you feel is the best person for the state, maybe that is what you go ahead with, because whether you like it or yes, whoever comes into power, the state of affairs for the next 4 years is going to ride solely on whoever comes into power. Their interest in ensuring that the state of affairs for Osun State and its people, they are well catered for. So if it is none of these persons, then we're in deep trouble. But if it is one of these candidates and you have properly identified, then you have to solidly stand behind them. Because I can see now that even we can see from reports, we can see from several incidents that the governor is being targeted, right? The Accord Party, they're being targeted because they do not, and we could even see that EFCC froze the account of the state government just before, and they said that there was a directive that came, that the account should be frozen because there was movement of money illegally. And this happened just days before the election. We know that the order came from somewhere. Interestingly, right, the president now gave a directive that the account should be unfrozen and operations should resume, and then investigations can continue after the elections. Interesting, but who gave the order in the first place? All of these are attacks to ensure that the governor does not come back. And he said something interesting. He said the more they fight us, he said this during the Arise Town Hall, he said the more they fight us, the more people love us, so they should keep fighting us. This is good and fine. But my concern critically is this. Who is the best candidate? Based off of track records, based off of blueprints, a working blueprint. We cannot, we may be born at night, but we were not born last night.
Yeah.
What this means is you can talk a good game, but we need to see your plans. And between now, all of the town halls that we're having, all of the sit-downs that we're having, it likely is going to end the moment someone gets into power. And I know for a fact that there's nobody that will be elected that the case will not go to court. It definitely will go to court.
But we hope it doesn't turn out that way, though.
It would definitely, best believe it would definitely go to court, right? It would definitely go to court. Let's not that is not even something that is up for discussion. We hope
it doesn't, because I do not think that elections should always end that way.
Whether it does or doesn't, right, Kevin? Sorry, to just land. Whether it does or it doesn't, it's not really whether it does or doesn't. It's not really the consequence, as it were. What I think to a large extent is that what I really think is that when we have determined who the best person is, right, let us support them. However, let us hold them accountable to the plans that they are showing us now. Because do you know why? Do you know why this is interesting? The moment they get into power, Kelvin, it's going to be a different game. You're going to say,
I totally understand that.
Because imagine. Now, APC's candidate, Bola Oyebamiji, has given a brilliant 7-point change. He called it Operation Prosper, right? And he said he's going to do from number 1 to 7, right? Of those things, I have it here, right? And I will show you. So, he has said this, right? And the Prosper Agenda, 7 pillars of the Prosper Agenda. He said there's poverty alleviation, there's workers' welfare and job creation, there's respect, accountable and transparent governance. opportunities for economic growth and SME, youth and women support, the security and social protection, productive agricultural partnership with the private sector, education and healthcare investment, renewed infrastructure. I'm really tired of hearing the word renewed. Renewed infrastructure investment. Amazing. 7 pillars. Now, the onus is on the citizens to ask him. You have 7 pillars. Great. Are you tackling pillar 1 to pillar 2 for the first 1 year of your being in governance? Are you tackling pillar 3 to pillar 4? And so we need to have the blueprint. So if you're going to tackle this, what is the plan? How are you going? Because you are not going to tell me that I want to be the governor of Osun State, for instance, and I'm going to think of the plan when I come into power. No. You see, wars are won with strategy, and strategy comes before the day of battle, right? So if by now you do not have an actual working blueprint, you do not already have in mind the parastatals, the ministries, the investors you are looking to bring in, you are not in talks with them already to say, yo, I want to be the governor, and these are my plans, and these are the key players, these are the stakeholders that are backing me. I think to a large extent that you maybe do not care, 1, and 2, you do not believe that the people can follow up or hold you accountable to whatever it is you're saying. So you would rather talk a good game now to prevent being held. So you get in power, manipulate your way into power, and then it becomes okay, let's just do little so that maybe we can now run for second term. Let us do as little as we can so we can hang on this to say, okay, this is what we did. Now vote me in for second term.
And that is why
the sad state of the politics.
Yeah, and
Nigeria.
that is why I'm of the opinion that governors, presidents, public office holders should not be allowed to go for a second term. You do not need 2 terms, right? What I think that we should be doing is, if you're coming for your
sometimes, but I will let you land. However, I think that sometimes, for the sake of continuity, some projects cannot.
I'm going to speak on that. Yeah, no. I'm going to speak on that. So if you're coming into power and you know you just have 1 term, you just have 4 years, do not start projects that's going to take more than 4 years. Do not bring reforms that's going to take more than 4 years. And if at all you're going to do that, we should run a government that follows continuity, not every time we have a fresh face. Yes, we can do that.
In Africa.
So you're coming in for a first term. Tell us what you can actually complete in those 4 years, right? The first term. In those 4 years,
I really don't agree with tell us. I would rather show us.
In 4 terms.
Because you say tell us.
In 4 years.
They just told us, right? I don't think telling is a problem. I think the problem is in showing.
Fine, we should have accountability measures, because actually, like I said before, if we have accountability measures and then they tell us these are the things we intend. No, see, they're not even telling us this is what I want to do in 4 years. They're not being specific.
Who holds the government accountable?
And they say that is the problem. The citizens hold the government accountable. However, we do not see the citizens.
Think about this, Kelvin. I'm going to play a scenario out for you. Now we have the economic.
I want to land on this.
So land,
yeah, I want to land on this.
Land, so I can. Yeah, so land.
Yeah. So the problem is, someone comes into power, they give us big promises, knowing very well that they're not going to fulfill this in 4 years. And here is the interesting part as well. There are actually some projects that can be completed in this 4 years, which is their first term. There are actually a lot of projects that can be completed in 4 years, but they intentionally delay it so they can use it as an excuse to run for a second term. So what they should do is give us project reforms that would only take you 4 years to complete.
Do you know why this is the case?
That would exceed 4 years. Whoever is coming into power next, as long as it is a good reform, should continue. That is what I'm saying.
In Nigeria,
it is doable.
Never. They don't do that.
No, it is doable. That's a problem. We can actually
in an idealistic world, yes, but in the reality that we live in as Nigerians living in Nigeria, I will tell you, and I would submit humbly, that reality is far from.
We can hold on. It is something that is achievable.
We can hold up.
Something that is doable.
This is
if we have proper accountability measures.
If we have proper accountability measures.
Yes.
So again, I've told you, in a world that is largely idealistic, possible. Now we have the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission that should hold the executive arm of government to account on spending, and such an arm goes ahead on somebody's directive to freeze a state government's account over claims of illegal migration of funds, that commission should be keeping the government accountable. But on someone's directive, someone in the government, they froze a state government's account. So we're talking about accountability. Where is it going to come from? When the offices, when the agencies that should keep the government accountable, they would move under the government's directive. So what are we talking about?
People ought to hold the government accountable.
Let us take it back to electricity.
The citizens
we have a platform.
ought to hold the government accountable. But the problem is, the citizens are like a daisical. They're still relaxed. They keep adjusting to all sorts of abnormalities. It is
exactly
not
what we're saying. Now, hold up. Now, for the All Electricity Consumer Protections Forum, they've been having a sit down with the government for years, and then we found out recently that the discourse, they're scamming the large number of users.
A lot of communities.
Exactly. So who is holding? I told you, in an idealistic world,
people should hold it. It's not about idealistic world,
because the reality is, for Nigerians living in Nigeria, we are largely lethargic. We see. I think it's a simple case of Stockholm syndrome.
You're dwelling on the problem. You're dwelling on the problem.
I am telling you the fact that
you're dwelling on the
very
problem.
Lethargic. Something happens today now.
You're dwelling on the problem rather than thinking of possible solutions.
When they removed subsidy for Band A, did people go to the streets to fight?
No, they did not. Everybody adjusted.
Exactly.
That is the problem. That is what I'm telling you.
So what? They should just wake up and go. They are not going to do that.
That is the problem. That is what I am saying. That if only the people could hold the government accountable. So the reason why we're in the situation experiencing these bad leadership is simply because the people fail to hold the government accountable.
Yeah, so
we should be thinking, all right, how
are we going to hold them accountable?
Yeah, how do we get the people to hold the government accountable?
You go and protest at Aso Rock.
Yeah, if you protest, the protest doesn't work, we'll look for other measures.
What other measures? Are you
don't let me say it to her, but there are other measures.
You need to understand. You need to understand, Kelvin.
You need to understand. Look,
I need to understand, Kelvin, right? The problem is that we have gotten, listen, Nigerians living in Nigeria, it is painful as a reality, right? That Nigerians living in Nigeria, they would find excuses, oh goodness, would find excuses to accept all of the anomalies and the abnormalities that are taking place, accept them as the norm, and settle with it. Now, over 53% of users in Nigeria are unmetered. Nobody. Do you know why? People are they are paying for estimated billing, and it is over 500% of what they actually use. People that cannot even afford light are paying more than what they are using, right? And they are fine. Do you think these people have what it takes to seek a reform? Because the more it happens, I mean, in 2023, things were not this bad. Nobody is taking to the streets. Now, we had a guest that came to say he called for, there were online petitions for people to come out and protest. The petitions were signed in their hundreds of thousands. On the day that they should have made a move, made a stand, how many persons showed up? He said
about 100.
About 100. Out of 100, so this is we have not, listen, do not, and we're wrapping this show with this, right? Do not mistake, and I'm going to say this as a matter of fact, that Nigerians should not mistake the frustration of being in a situation as the same thing as the desire to want change. You see, when you have if we really desire change, we would make moves. What we are experiencing simply is the frustration over things that are happening to us. So we would voice out our frustrations, but it is not the same. And I repeat, it is not the same as a desire to want change. Desire translates into strategy, translates into actionable points. All of this we're lacking because we are too comfortable, sadly speaking, too comfortable being where we are. That is very sad. And now, I'm sincerely, I'm going to wrap up with this. It is not our job here today to tell the residents and indigents of Osun State who to vote for. That is not what we've come here to do. We are simply asking them to ask the same questions that we are asking. The same questions. You have laid out plans, good and fine. Where are the blueprints? How is it going to happen? Where is the funding going to come from? If we do not have answers to all of these things, then what are we talking about? We're asking you to challenge what they have said, and you're in your right to do so. I'm not going to tell you to vote for anybody. I'm going to tell you, challenge what they have said, because it is your right. At the end of the day, you are the persons living in Osun State, and you are going to be under their governance, whether it is good or bad. That is my humble submission.
And it is very important that we do not vote with sentiment, do not vote by tribes. Don't say, oh, this person, we're from the same village in Osun State, so that is why I want to vote for them. No, you should vote with your conscience, vote with humanity. All right, think about your neighbor, think about the next person. Whatever policy this person is going to bring, how does it affect my neighbor? Not just how does it affect me. And then critically look at their promises. Is this achievable? Is this attainable? Are these big grammars, or these are actually actionable plans? These are the things that you should look out for. And unlike what my co-host believes, I strongly believe that we as a people, we have the power to create the change that we so much desire.
I believe
so
we have the power.
People, as you go to the polling unit, make sure you're fully ready and exercise your power. Create the change that you desire.
We would see the outcome. I mean, in a month, we literally would see the outcome.
And make sure you join the conversation in the comment section on YouTube, on Instagram, and make sure you follow us and turn on your notifications for the town hall announcement. It's coming up at the end of this month, so stay tuned.
Thank you for joining this conversation today. We look forward to more conversations, more engagements, and we really want the people to take power into their own hands and determine their future, right? Thank you for being with us today. My name is Andrew Isaiah Priye.
And I am Kelvin Raphael.
See you in the next one.
Yeah.